The rain had already begun by the time Mr. Callan locked the main doors of Westbrook High. The hallways were nearly empty, except for the low hum of the fluorescent lights and the rhythmic drip of water leaking from a ceiling tile. Inside room 104, 4 students sat scattered across desks, waiting out their Friday detention. There was Maya, quiet and observant, sketching something in her notebook. Derek, who couldn't stop tapping his pencil. Jess, chewing gum too loudly. And Ty, the kind of kid who treated detention like a social event. At the front of the room sat Mrs. Alcott, their substitute supervisor for the day, an older woman with sharp cheekbones and a tone that could cut glass. "Phones away," she said, eyes flicking up. "You can serve your hour in silence." The clock above her ticked at an oddly slow rhythm. Maya watched the rain trickle down the window. The parking lot lights flickered outside, reflecting across the wet asphalt. It was nearly 5 p.m. when the power cut out. Everything went black. Someone's chair scraped. A sharp inhale cut through the darkness. Then the lights flickered back on, once, twice, before stabilizing. Mrs. Alcott was gone. "Where'd she go?" Jess asked, half joking. "She probably went to check the breaker," Derek said, though his voice lacked confidence. But the sound of footsteps in the hallway said otherwise. Slow, deliberate, and far too heavy to be hers. Maya felt her pulse quicken. "That's not her." Ty stood up, his bravado fading. "It's just the janitor, dude." He stepped to the doorway and leaned into the hall. The lights overhead flickered again. There was a flash of a silhouette. A tall figure at the far end of the corridor. Ty stumbled back. "Okay, not the janitor." Slammed the door, shut by itself, shaking the glass panel. Mrs. Alcott's voice echoed faintly from beyond it. "Stay in your seats." But it was coming from the wrong direction, from behind the whiteboard. Maya's breath hitched. "She's in the wall?" Jess laughed nervously. "No, that's impossible." Then came the sound again. From behind the board, deliberate and rhythmic. Ty grabbed the edge and yanked it forward. Behind it wasn't a wall. It was a door, sealed with rusted metal hinges. Someone had painted over it. Derek whispered, "This building's over 100 years old. They probably sealed off rooms." "Or something worse," Maya murmured. A faint humming came from inside, like a woman humming an old tune, soft and low. The door creaked open, just enough for the sound to leak out, followed by a faint scrape of shoes across concrete. Jess clapped her hands. "Nope, I'm not doing this." She turned to grab her bag, but froze. The window beside her was fogged from the rain, and written across it, in shaky letters, were the words, "She never left." The humming stopped. Silence. Then, zip. The door to the hidden room snapped open. The lights flickered violently. In that half-second flash, they all saw her. Mrs. Alcott, or something that looked like her, standing half in shadow. Her skin was pale, her clothes water-stained and old-fashioned, her head tilted unnaturally, as though trying to listen. Then the lights went out completely. Screams erupted in the dark. A chair crashed. Something heavy hit the floor. Slam. When the lights came back, Jess was gone. Maya's breath came fast and shallow. "We need to get out." Derek ran to the door, yanking the handle. It didn't budge. He hit it again, harder. "It's jammed!" From behind the whiteboard came a dragging sound, slow and wet, like something being pulled across the ground. And then Jess's voice, soft, trembling. "Help me!" It was coming from inside the wall. Maya grabbed her phone flashlight and shone it through the small opening. The beam caught movement. Jess, or someone wearing her face, pressed against the far wall, eyes wide with terror, mouth open in a silent scream before a hand yanked her backward into the dark. Maya dropped the phone, her flashlight spinning across the floor. Ty stumbled toward the door, slamming his shoulder into it until the frame cracked. "Come on!" It finally burst open, and they bolted down the hall. The fluorescent lights above buzzed and flickered as they ran. They reached the main doors, locked. Derek hit the glass with a chair. It didn't even crack. Behind them, the hallway lights began shutting off one by one. Something was following them. They could hear the footsteps again, steady, deliberate, echoing closer with each second. Maya turned just enough to see the figure walking toward them. Mrs. Alcott, her head twitching side to side like she was searching for the noise. But her face, her eyes, were hollow. Ty screamed. The sound echoed down the hall. The lights flared. Then everything went still. Silence. When the police arrived 2 hours later, they found the classroom door open, chairs overturned, and no sign of the students. Only Mrs. Alcott was there, sitting at her desk, motionless, staring at the clock. When asked what happened, she only said one thing, her voice calm, almost kind. They shouldn't have opened the door. Then she looked towards the whiteboard, where faintly written in chalk were the same words from the window. She never left. The smell of rust and old floor wax clung to the air inside Riverside High's East Wing, the part of the building no one really used anymore. Half the lights were dead, the tiles were chipped, and the metal lockers had gone soft with years of moisture. It started as a dare. 3 seniors, Lena, Chris, and Devin, decided to explore the old wing after practice. The janitor, Mr. Haynes, had muttered warnings about that hallway, saying it was supposed to be condemned after an accident back in the 90s. But that made it perfect for them. Lena led the way, phone flashlight cutting through the dim corridor. Their sneakers squeaked just enough to make every sound feel amplified. "You realize we could get suspended for this," Chris whispered. "Only if we get caught," Lena said, smirking. They passed faded posters. "Respect your peers. College starts here." Peeling from the walls like scabs. At the far end of the corridor, one locker was half pulled off the wall, its hinges twisted. Someone had scrawled, "Keep out," across it in permanent marker. Devin snorted. "That's not ominous at all." Lena tugged on the locker door. It rattled. Something hollow echoed behind it. "There's space back there," she said. Chris frowned. "Like another room?" Only one way to find out. They wedged a screwdriver under the metal lip and pried. The bolts screamed as they gave way, until the entire locker panel swung free, revealing a small, square door set into the wall. It wasn't new. It looked like it had been there since the school was built. Wooden, chipped, painted the same beige as the walls, with a handle rusted almost to dust. No locks, just a handle. Devin grinned. Hidden door in a school basement? Classic horror setup. "Shut up," Lena muttered, but she couldn't hide her curiosity. She twisted the handle. Click. The door opened. Cold air spilled out, dry and stale, like something that hadn't been touched in decades. A narrow stairwell disappeared downward, the light from their phones barely reaching past the first few steps. "Okay," Chris said. "We looked. Mystery solved. Let's go." But Lena was already descending. The others followed, their footsteps hollow on the concrete stairs. The air grew colder, heavier. The space opened into a small basement room lined with shelves and file cabinets. Old metal and unlabeled. "What is this place?" Devin muttered. Lena brushed the dust from a nearby folder. It was stamped with the school's crest. Riverside High District Records, 1994. Chris opened a filing drawer. Inside were student records, yellowed and curling, names they didn't recognize. Then Devin froze. "Guys!" He was holding a box marked photographic evidence. Inside were dozens of Polaroids. Students, classrooms, hallways, all of them taken at night, all of them slightly off, faces blurred, eyes caught, mid-blink, frames tilted as if taken from hiding. Lena flipped one over. On the back was written, "Room 104, 11:42 p.m. Chris swallowed. This looks like surveillance." The hum of the overhead lights deepened. One flickered, buzzing like an angry insect. Devin's phone buzzed, low battery. Then another sound. From behind them. The small door they'd entered through was closing. Lena ran toward it, slamming her hand against the frame. "Hold it open." But before she could wedge it, it clicked shut. Okay, Chris said, trying to stay calm. "It's fine. We'll just open it again." He pulled the handle. Nothing. It didn't move. Devon kicked it. "What the hell?" Something shifted above them. A metallic groan. A vent rattling. Then a faint shuffle of footsteps. Muffled. Slow. "Someone's upstairs," Lena whispered. "Mr. Haynes?" But the steps were deliberate, heavy, stopping directly above the small basement. Dust fell from the ceiling in little clouds. Then, snap. The lights went out. The room plunged into darkness. Chris fumbled with his phone flashlight. The beam caught a glint of something in the corner. A camera tripod aimed directly at them. There was an old VHS camcorder attached, the red light blinking faintly. "It's recording," Devon said. "Who's recording?" Lena hissed. A faint voice drifted from somewhere in the dark. A man's voice. "Shouldn't be down here." They spun toward it. Nothing. "Mr. Haynes," Lena called out. But it came again, closer now. "Shouldn't be down here." Chris swung his light. For an instant they caught sight of a figure, pale, expressionless, before it ducked behind a row of cabinets. Devon grabbed a metal rod from the floor. "Who's there?" Silence. Then clang. Something hit the rod out of his hand. Lena screamed. "We need to move!" They bolted deeper into the room, pushing past old filing cabinets and broken desks. Another door appeared ahead, slightly ajar. They shoved through it, slamming it behind them. It led to another corridor, long and narrow, lined with more lockers. But these were bolted shut from the outside. Every one of them rattled as they ran past. Chris gasped. "Where does this even go?" "Keep moving," Lena yelled. At the end of the hall was a set of double doors. Devon hit them with his shoulder. They burst open into another stairwell, this one leading upward. They climbed fast, lungs burning. When they finally reached the top, they pushed open a metal hatch, emerging into the main hallway of Riverside High, the same one they'd entered from. But the lights were off. The rain outside had stopped, and everything looked wrong. Their bags were gone. The posters were different. The air smelled new. Lena's voice trembled. "How long were we down there?" They walked toward the main exit. A bright white fluorescent light blinked to life overhead. Behind them, the hallway locker they'd pried open was sealed again, good as new. No marks, no sign of the hidden door. Chris pressed his hand to it. It felt solid, real. Then a voice echoed behind them. "Students, what are you doing here?" They turned. It was Mr. Haynes, younger, his hair darker, uniform crisp. Lena stammered, We were just..." He frowned. "School's closed. You're trespassing." Devon blinked. "Wait, what year is it?" Mr. Haynes' expression hardened. 1994. The air left the hallway. Behind them, the lights flickered once, twice, then steadied. The locker stood silently. The school felt alive again. Lena looked down at her phone. It was dead. The screen cracked and dark. And when she turned back to the others, Chris and Devon were gone. Just her reflection in the locker, eyes wide, mouth trembling. From the other side of the locker, a hand pressed against the metal, palm to hers. And faintly, from behind it, came the sound of a camera click.